Welcome. Today we are going to learn Daf Tzadik Tes, page 99 of Torah Ohr. We're in the middle of a Maimer on Megillah Esther, on the phrase from Gemara that the sentence from Gemara that a person should become intoxicated for him until he doesn't know the difference between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mardechai. And the Maimer went on to explain how Torah is called a mashal, a metaphor, because at every level of Torah, it's a metaphor that helps us relate to and connect to a certain revelation of godliness, and then it goes from level to level. With each level of revelation of Hashem is accessed through a certain level of Torah. And then we explained that although both Purim and Matan Torah were these times connected to Hashem at a very high level, but there's a difference that with Matan Torah, Hashem, so to speak, forced us into it by this outpouring of love towards us, the Jewish people, that then we responded in kind. Whereas on Purim, Hashem's presence was concealed, and therefore the fact that we're still bonding to Hashem in a very deep way is with our own efforts, and therefore it's greater. So now we begin with a Bira Inyan, about 10 lines down, Daf Tzadik Tes, first column. So the pasuk says, when describing Mardechai, it calls him Ish Yehudi, that there was a Ish Yehudi, a Jew, a Judean, and his name was Mardechai Ish Yemini. Now Mardechai was from the tribe of Binyamin. Ish Yemini means from Binyamin. So if so, why is he called a Yehudi? Yehudi means someone from the tribe of Yehuda. Similarly, it says in the decree of Haman to destroy the Jewish people, they're called the Jewish people, the Yehudim, and this is strange, because what about people from Bnei Israel from other tribes? If they're from Ephraim or Manasseh, would they not be included? But the explanation is that from the time of the Megillah, this is actually, incidentally, it's the first time it happens. But the Bnei Israel are now called Yehudim no matter which tribe they come from. That's because Yehuda comes from the word to acknowledge and to like we say, that we thank Hashem and we humbly acknowledge Hashem. And so this is a quality that every Yid has, this quality of bitul, of self-nullification, and therefore we're all called Yehudim, which Yehuda received his name because Leah says, "Hapam oides Hashem." This time I thank Hashem. She recognizes Hashem's kindness. Now we all have this. Now, and when we bow in Shemona Esrei, we're expressing the bitul, the self-nullification that we all have within us. Now, of all of us, we all have this Yehuda power inside us, but the greatest is Mardechai, and that's why Mardechai is called Ish Yehudi, which means like the master, the highest degree of Yehudi, of this humility and self-nullification before Hashem. Now, Mardechai's name, like the Gemara says, Mardechai's name is hinted to in the pasuk talking about the besamim, the spices in the Beis Hamikdash, where it talks about mardrer, that they used this mardrer. What is mardrer? It's miRa dachya. So it's mar as a spice, and then dachya. So it's a crushed pure spice. And which spice is it? So according to the Rambam and most Mefarshim, it is musk or mut, or in Aramaic we have the name based in Aramaic mushka. So what is this spice? It's unlike the other spices that come from plants. This spice comes from the blood of a certain animal when it's prepared right, it becomes a nice smelling spice. So, and that's the name Mordechai. Mordechai is named after this spice, which was made from blood of a certain animal. And blood is generally seen as something from the side of severity, something negativity, and therefore using the blood for a pleasant spice is a way of transformation, of transforming something from problematic to something nice, pleasant smelling. And this is through iskafia, subduing bad, and athapekha, and then transforming bad. So the blood represents our taivas, our desires for physical things, and the idea of using it out for holiness, for becoming nice smelling, represents using it out for holiness. That our desires should become holy desires, and that's what we should really want. So based on this, we can explain the deeper meaning of the debate in halacha whether this spice, myrrh or mush, is allowed to be eaten. So there's two opinions. Rabbi Yonah says it's allowed. Others say, no, you can't eat it. You're only allowed to smell it. And what is the real debate? The debate is, to what degree will we say that it has been transformed to something holy? So Rabbi Yonah, who says that you're allowed to eat it, so he would say that similarly with something that starts off negative, and then we do teshuvah. So if someone sinned on purpose, it's a purposeful sin, then does teshuvah. So then it becomes fixed, and even stonus, even the purposeful averis become positive. Whereas others say that you can't eat it, and that's because they said that even when you try to transform, but it's still it might make bad into accidents, but doesn't make it into mitzvahs, into something positive. And based on that, you can't eat this spice, which comes from blood, which is from the side of negativity. Now, which animal is this? So it says it's a chayidua, known animals. This chayidua actually is the same animal as yedoni, which is from the word yedua, and which was used for certain types of magic related to idolatry. And so therefore, through transformation, that can become something positive. And about this, it says that where Balei Tshuva stand, where people will return to Yiddishkeit stand, even a perfect tzaddik can't stand. But if teshuvah is performed without love of Hashem, so then one's averis, one's sins do not become positive. They only become shkogas. They become like accidental. Because of one's teshuvah. So now Mordechai is the ultimate of bittol, the ultimate of self-effacement, and therefore he's the ultimate Yehudi, which we said represents submission and self-nullification before Hashem. And then his counterpart is Haman, who is the ultimate ego. Haman says, who would the king want to give this honor but me? So he was the ultimate self-centered ego, and therefore separated from Hashem's oneness, and he thought that he was everything, and that's it. And that's fitting for his family. He was from the family of Amalek. It says about Amalek, Reish is Goyim Amalek, that Amalek is the first of the nations, meaning that they are the 7 nations of Canaan, and each represents a certain spiritual illness, a certain negative character trait. And yes, there are some very bad ones. There's hedonistic pleasures, there's even murder, but Amalek is that coarseness and and chutzpah and self-centeredness, which is the root of all the negative midas. So Haman wanted to destroy all the Yehudim because Yehudim represent self-nullification, and therefore it didn't fit. It was the exact opposite of Haman, who's about a big ego. If they would retract and leave Yiddishkeit and renege on their religion, then he would leave them alone. But nevertheless, they all stayed true to Hashem and to Hashem's oneness. And this is a special ability that every Yid has, to give up everything, and even his life, not to separate from the Hashem Echad, from the one Hashem in any way. Even though a Yid sometimes might do an Aveira, might sin, that's because of a spirit of folly, a Ruach Shtutz, that tricks him so that he should think that that it doesn't affect his connection, because he says, look, I'm a Yid. I put on tzitzis, I wear tefillin, I'm a Yid. Or whatever other trappings and signs it is a Yid, and therefore it says the fact that I'm sitting now doesn't affect my connection. So now, the fact that at essence, a Yid will give up everything and even his life in order to stay connected with Hashem. So this is because a Yid has a deep love of Hashem, which is beyond logic and beyond limits. When the Torah speaks about love of Hashem, it says love Hashem because Hashem is our life. But based on that, we would only love Hashem out of thanks for giving us life, but not more than our life. Whereas Mesiras Nefesh means that Hashem comes first before even our very life. And the Torah doesn't give a reason for Mesiras Nefesh because it's beyond reason. So when we say love Hashem ki hu chayecha, because he is our life, so that means Hashem is our life, energizes us in two ways. One way is memalekam, and the other way is servkam. Hashem fills all the worlds to energize it according to its specific level, and then surrounds all the worlds to energize it in one sort of equal way, give all worlds the same level of spiritual energy that surrounds all worlds. But Hashem himself is really beyond both filling the worlds and surrounding the worlds, because Hashem existed before creation. He can exist he will exist after creation, and even after this world as we know it is finished, without any change. And the fact that all existence, all creations come out of Hashem, so that doesn't change Hashem. It's only a ray from Hashem, not Hashem himself. Hashem himself remains unchanged. And that's why creation is called yesh me'ayin, something out of nothing. That's because the creation is a something, and it only happens through a ray, and that ray is called ayin. It's called nothing compared to Hashem's essence. So Hashem's essence is totally beyond the ray of light of Hashem, which enlivens worlds. And the pasuk says va'ata mechayis kulam, that you enliven all of them. This word va'ata, you, it has aleph and then tav. So it represents the 22 letters of the aleph base, together with the hey at the end, which is the 5 parts, ways that we can speak. Some letters are pronounced from our throat, other ones from our lips, other ones from our tonsils, etc., our teeth. So that's the 5 parts of our mouth which produce letters, and that's the hey of ata. And now these letters, they're only a ray from Hashem, not of course Hashem himself. Like, they have letters to express what I'm saying to others. So it's outside of me. It's only how I'm expressed to others. And the same thing with Hashem. And so therefore, Hashem himself is beyond just the fact that he is our life force, because our life force is only, as we said, it's only Hashem as he fills worlds and surrounds worlds. But Hashem himself is beyond that. And therefore, the decision that just comes automatically from inside, that I'll give up my life if necessary, not to separate from Hashem's oneness. So this is connected to Hashem's essence, which is beyond Hashem's light that fills and surrounds worlds. Now, when it says that so it says that you enliven all of them. This word ata, aleph to taf, refer to all the letters of the aleph base, that each one is a certain spiritual energy, and then the hey is the 5 parts of the mouth, and this is where in speech that's where what energizes and what allows connection to other. So that represents the ray of Hashem, whereas Hashem himself, beyond the words of speech, is unaffected by creation, because like we said, that only affects within either the Hashem's light that fills the worlds or surrounds the worlds, but Hashem himself is beyond, and that's like Mesiras Nefesh, which is beyond. Now, every yid has this ability, because every yid has a neshama which is beyond intellect, and therefore every yid is able to have Mesiras Nefesh, not to give up his life, not to go against Hashem and separate from Hashem. And this is the meaning of the pasuk in the Megillah, there's Mardechי, that the word of Mardechי was kept by the Yidden. So Mardechי, as we said, is the ultimate of bitul, of self-nullification, the ultimate Yehudi, and this was the word of Mardechי was accepted by the Yidden. Like the pasuk says, that at the time of Purim, of the Achashverosh, it says v'kiv ha'Yehudim es asher chelu la'asos, is that now the Yidden finally accepted what they started to do earlier. So when did they start to accept the Torah? That was at the time of the giving of the Torah, where they said Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and then we'll understand. And they were so excited that every one of the dibros, every one of the Aseres, the 10 statements, or as it's normally translated in English, 10 commandments. So the neshama jumped out of the body towards Hashem. But although this happened both at the giving of the Torah and also at Purim, they also accepted the Torah, but there's a difference that at Matan Torah, at the giving of the Torah, it was due to this overpouring of love, so they were sort of smothered by it and almost forced to accept. Whereas in the times of Purim, it was from our own efforts. And that's why Matan Torah is considered only the beginning, whereas with Purim, that's considered where they fully and properly accepted the Torah. Now, the pasuk says at the end of the Megillah, Maro kacha mahigi aleim. What did they see regarding this, and what happened, what reached them? So it uses the word ma twice. Ma means what? It's a sense of bitul, of self-nullification. What is it? There's nothing. And which is what Mardechai is all about. Now, there's two levels, two types of divine light. There's which are hinted in Hashem's names. There's Shem Ma and Shem Ban. So ban is godliness as it descends to be involved in this world, whereas ma stays above the world. So ban is like mamali energy, the light that fills the world, and then ma is above. And on one hand, ban it extends godliness further down, but on the other hand, ma is more sort of accurate and more obviously godly. So this ma, which represents a high level of bitul, of self-nullification, higi aleihem, like the pasuk says, ma higi aleihem, what reached to them. So in the times of Achashverosh, there was no revelation from above. The Yidden decided that they've got to shape up, they've got to connect Hashem themselves. And therefore it's a nesra solisata, an arousal from below. But still, despite that the Aveda in the time of the Purim story was of our own efforts, but still Hashem helped. Like it says, without Hashem's help, we wouldn't be able to achieve anything. We wouldn't be able to stay on the right track. It says, the Medrash says in Parshas Tazria that Ish Mazriya Tchiliya Leres Nekeva, Isha Mazriya Tchiliya Leres Zachar. So if the man's seed comes out first, then the child will be a daughter. Whereas if the woman's it comes out first, then the child will be a son, will be a male. So what does this mean spiritually? That if the original efforts is our own, so in other words, that the Isha is first, we are first, we're considered Hashem's wife, so then the result will be strong, will be male. Whereas if it's Hashem initiating, so then the result will be weak, the result will be female. This is Shem Ban, which is the feminine energy which goes into worlds in order to nurture and them and energize them. Between Matan Torah versus Purim, where Matan Torah there's a lower level of bitul because it's initiated from Hashem, whereas at Purim it's a high level of bitul because it's initiated from us. So it's like the difference between Moshe and Eliyahu. So Eliyahu is the gematria of Ban because he is godliness within this world, whereas Moshe is totally bottled to beyond. And therefore Eliyahu, who he was about refining the body, so therefore his body went up to heaven with him. Whereas Moshe, his body was totally irrelevant. We don't even know where it is. He's all about his soul as it rises and to become one with Hashem. So Moshe is Ma and Eliyahu is Ban. Or we could explain the difference between the giving of the Torah versus Purim, like the difference between Moshe and Aaron. That both Moshe and Aaron are ma. So they both said together, but ma, we are what? We are nothing. There's nothing that Kairach and the rebels should complain about us. But still within ma, Moshe is ma within ma, whereas Aaron is ban within ma. So in other words, within ma, within ma, which is the godliness above the world, which sort of sits above and refines from above. Aaron is the ban within that, the more integrated part, whereas Moshe is the ma part within ma, the more beyond part. So either way, we see that in the times of the Purim, so then there was a greater level of self-sacrifice and greater level of self-nullification than at the time of the giving of the Torah. So Purim was like where the woman initiates and then the child is male. In other words, that when we initiate ourselves, not from Hashem, then the impact is stronger. And the resultant revelation of godliness is stronger. So the same way that this applies to bitul, the degree to which we're nullified before Hashem. So similarly regarding revelation, that Torah reveals Hashem, and the Torah was given at Matan Torah, at the giving of Torah at Sinai, but that was only the beginning, and it was only fully accepted in the times of Purim, because Purim is when it's from our efforts. And this is the meaning of the pasuk from V'zayis bracha Torah tivlanu Moshe me'rasha kilas Yaakov, that the Torah Moshe commanded to us me'rasha, it's an inheritance, but you could read me'rasha as mo'rasa, betrothed. And so this is like the idea of the marriage between Hashem and the Jewish people, where the Jewish people are the kala, and when they initiate, then there's a greater revelation afterwards. And so this ma, when the pasuk says mara kacha ma, when it's summarizing at the end of the Megillah. So this ma is related to chachma. The word chachma is made up of two words, kayachma, the ability of what? This of humility. And that's because chachma receives from the subconscious, and it has to be totally still in order to let the subconscious be manifest within it. And therefore chachma is also this level of bitul, of self-nullification. And we're just going to do the beginning of the next paragraph. And we'll conclude 9 lines down on the fourth column of Tzadik Tes of page 99. So now, next paragraph. So now we can understand why with Purim there's this mitzvah to drink, which doesn't apply to other Yom Tovim or to Shabbos, and so we could understand that. Based on the pasuk which relates to Yom Tovim, to the other holidays, Ran tzadikim b'Hashem, that tzadikim sing and they praise Hashem. So the Zohar explains that the connection between this chapter Ran tzadikim, which is said on Shabbos mornings, and Shabbos and Yom Tov is that on Shabbos and Yom Tov, it's a time of singing, a time of praise, a time of celebration. So therefore we say Ran Tzadikim, but still the degree of celebration and joy is only limited. It's only from within, Ishalshlus, from within the chain of worlds, and therefore the level of joy is limited. We have certain ways to show our happiness. In the times of the Beis Hamikdash, it was with the meat of the korban. Now we drink wine. Well, a husband buys his wife something for Yom Tov, and buy the children sweets. So this is all a limited way to show happiness. Whereas Purim, it's without any bounds and just unlimited joy. And to the extent that until we don't know the difference between Mardechai and Haman, unlike every other Yom Tov where the joy is specifically with rationale, with intellect, but with Purim it's with beyond intellect. And this is the level of Mesiras Nefesh, where we give ourselves up entirely, which is also beyond intellect and beyond reasons. Like we said before, that there's no reason, there's no logical explanation for Mesiras Nefesh. But this level of bitul, this level of self-nullification, it reaches, it touches Hashem himself beyond Sovev and Mamale, beyond how Hashem feels and surrounds worlds. And that essence is the source of our Mesiras Nefesh, our self-sacrifice. And therefore, it manifests specifically on Purim, the day where it says, to the degree that we don't know the difference between curses Haman and blesses Mordechai, because when Hashem's essence is revealed, then everything else is nullified before it, and there's no difference. Like it says that in Tzadakta Matitan, that even if we do righteous acts, then what have we given to Hashem? If we increase in sin, then what have we done to Hashem. So that's the level of Purim where the Hama and Mordechai, it's all the same thing because it's totally beyond and totally unlimited. Okay, so we're going to stop there. So we've explained the meaning of Ish Yehudi. Mordechai is this ultimate bitul, whereas Haman is the ultimate of ego, and that Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice, it's beyond reason, so it's connected to Mordechai. Unlike love of Hashem, that there could be reason for that, but the reason won't dictate to give oneself up. And we spoke about different levels of bitul, bitul of ma, bitul of ban. Ma is the higher level of bitul. And based on that, explain that on a regular Yom Tov, the joy is limited. Because it's a limited choice, it has limited expression. Whereas on Purim, it's beyond limits and beyond rationale. And therefore, the expression is unlimited in a way of drinking.